Is it worth playing Smite 2 in 2025? My obvious answer, yes. If you're waiting for specific gods, understandably, you can wait. But we'll see here. We'll see if I agree with this.
What is going on, boys and girls of YouTube? How are you guys doing? I'm coming off of 4th of July
festivities.
The day before that, we did the Weak3n cosplay. Don't ask questions. Don't ask questions. I hope you guys never see that. And I got on today, and I have a bunch of videos that I want to get made. I have things, you know, written down, ready to go, planned out, and came across like 3 things that made me want to make this specific video. I keep seeing a ton of people complaining, mainly on Twitter, a little bit in other places, you know, people cry everywhere, but on Twitter, because Mercury's release just came out and he was weak. If you guys have followed anything with Smite and Smite 2, you know that
Mercury is weak right now, but I think it's because his builds, like crit just kind of got nerfed right before he came. And I feel like a lot of the things that made Mercury feel good in Smite 1, like the movement speed abilities, items, and there's not as many movement speed items in the game, and that's usually where he got that like innate, like he just punched harder than everybody else, and that's just not in Smite 2. I don't feel like his kit is bad. I just feel like the things that I feel like his builds just aren't good.
Moved on from Smite 1 essentially. Smite 1 is still playable, but hasn't been getting updates for almost 2 years now. Smite 2 has essentially been in development for like 2 years-ish, and it's been playable for a year. It's in free to play for 6 months, or maybe 7 months. That's the timeline. But Mercury just released. He's got some bugs, and he's weak. We've had most of the gods that have been re-released or even new gods come out be pretty strong on their release. So it created this big, odd to me, big backlash over a god. And it delved deeper into people complaining about the game and how Smite 1 is better. Smite 2 is just Smite 1 with a worse map, all kinds of stuff. This isn't targeted towards any one person. That, what I just said specifically, was something that El Leon had tweeted. It was deeper than that. That's just surface level. Andy's my boy, not targeting him at all. Just using him as the example because that's what I'm thinking of. But you know, if you go find that tweet, you will see response after response after response. Some defending Smite 2, some agreeing. I want to open this with the whole point of this video. Is it worth playing Smite 2 in 2025? I don't know if we all just forgot, but people were complaining and attempting to quit Smite 1 for years. Like pros would quit.
That's what I don't understand. I feel like people just only have recency bias to where like they forget that like Smite 1 was on a downtrend for 4 years in a row. The only reason that it was stifled and like perceived to be doing better is just because COVID blew the numbers the fuck up.
Every other month.
People always compare Smite 2 numbers to like Smite 1 COVID numbers. They'll be like, we were at 20,000 Steam players during these months. We were at 14, 15,000. And every time I'm just like, buddy, like you're looking at COVID numbers. People would be like, we're, you know, peaking around 24,000, 23,000. And right now we're only at like 5. And I'm like, buddy, this is COVID. None of these numbers are real. Everyone was stuck inside. Look at us beforehand, right? Right? Still better numbers, don't get me wrong, but like these are like the glory days of Smite, and we're peaking at 17 and averaging 7 or 8, right? You can't. Where is it? You can't compare these numbers. Averaging 14s. Like everyone was stuck inside. Everyone was playing games.
Then come back the next month. Streamers would quit for a week and come back.
Every gaming, you can talk about any gaming scene. Every gaming scene is experiencing the same thing. Everybody in every community, there's this same debate on Twitter about how the games just aren't what they used to be 3 or 4 years ago, and it's not as exciting. It's like, well, yeah, people are doing shit now.
The next week for years, from like season 4 to season 10, this was happening. So I don't know if we just forgot that there was always bad or down times in Smite 1. There was an entire year where I barely played Smite 1. I think it was.
Yes, I would go, when I wasn't streaming, I would go through bouts where I wouldn't play Smite for 6 months. And this is like Scream made a tweet as well that said like how stale it is right now, and that was something I pushed back on as well. And it doesn't mean he's wrong, because whether something feels stale or not is subjective to everybody. But I feel like people have gotten complacent and just got used to how much new content we're getting. Has a bunch of like the past like 4 or 5 updates been geared towards new player retention? Yeah. So have like the like veterans been neglected a little bit? You could perceive to say, I guess, but then I would just sit there and say, we're getting 2 gods a month. 2 new gods a month. We used to get 1 god every 3 or 4 months and maybe 4 a year. We're getting 24 gods a year. We're getting new items like every 8 to 12 weeks, right? 8 to 12 weeks we're getting new items, and every 2 weeks we're getting a new god. How could it possibly be stale? And then somebody pushed back at one point in chat and said, well, they're all gods from Smite 1 that we're used to playing. And it's like, that's fair, right? So it's not like a new god, but also at the same time, it's somebody you probably, if you're a Smite 2 grinder, like most of the like community has adopted, you're probably not, like, I haven't played Scylla in like a year, like a full year. I haven't played her consistently. So I mean, like, how is it stale?
Season 9?
Like, League of Legends and other games play on the same map for the 10th year in a row. I feel like Smite community just gets used to how much is always changing, so they just expect it. And since their expectations are there always needed to be changed for me to enjoy this game, then they just like, this is what I said when I got worried. I was like, I'm worried with their new god schedule that people will just get used to a new god every 2 weeks, to where that won't be new and exciting anymore. People will start to get bored by the fact that there's so much new content.
I can't exactly remember. I like played and made content, but I was putting a lot of time into other games. I don't know if we just forgot that. Like, are we living in a world where Smite 1 was perfect? Because I very vividly remember it being the opposite. I believe that season 10 in this season 11, which wasn't a pro season, but like season 10 and season 11, the game was great. I played all of season 10. I like played ranked the whole year long into season 11, which was when Smite 2 was announced. I was enjoying the game a lot. So I
think people are getting complacent.
We left on a high note, but we also left on a high note because the game wasn't changing much during this time, and they were prepping for Smite 2, and we were all playing on a high of, oh, we're gonna have this better game coming out, ignoring the fact that we were gonna have to wait to get to that better game. It wasn't just gonna poop out, they were gonna poop out this perfect version of Smite. They never did it with Smite 1. So I had to talk about that. I also keep seeing people who are like, oh, Smite 2 stinks, go play Predecessor. Don't get me wrong, I did a sponsor stream with Predecessor like 2 weeks ago, and I kept playing the game. I still am planning on playing the game on and off. It's a much better game than it was. However,
agreed.
Sitting here and saying that it is better than Smite 2 is insane to me. Predecessor has been out for over 2 years. It has 40 some characters. Keep in mind, Predecessor is the replicated version of a specific state of Paragon, which was out like 8 years ago. A lot of the same characters, so it's not like they're brand new. There are some brand new characters in Predecessor. I'm not gonna take that away. Their newer characters are actually really fun. Like, their last 2 characters are sick, but it's taken them 2 years to make less gods than Hi-Rez has put in the game in 1 year. Because I'm talking about 2 years of the game being playable, of Predecessor being
more characters that are playable in the game doesn't really matter to me. It just matters on whether you like Predecessor or not. I got sponsored to play Predecessor as well. I agree. I think it's way more fun than it was the last time I got sponsored, which was about a year ago. It seems like I've been sponsored about once a year to play Predecessor when they've launched the new stuff to the game. I had fun on it. It's just not a game I can grind. The community is fantastic. One of the most welcoming gaming communities I've ever been a part of, like when I go play it. The community is great. The game is fun. It looks good. It runs well. I don't know how to describe why. This is subjective, the same way I don't like hero shooters. It's a game that if I hop on with friends, I will play for a few hours and we'll be chilling. We're good. I will not solo queue it by myself. Just not fun. Just not my deal. I'm just not interested in solo grinding it, and also I'm not interested in grinding it for 8 hours.
Being playable. Not talking about
It's
the
fun,
development
though.
stages beforehand.
It's
That's why
fun.
I'm not talking about Smite 2's development stages beforehand.
But to say it's better than
we're
Smite
talking about a
2
game
in terms
that
of like
is
I don't know,
basically
not
similar to
regret.
the same amount of time as Smite 2-ish. Smite 2's been out for a year, so not really the same, but similar. And Smite 2 already has way more characters. On top of that, Smite 2 has aspects. I know Predecessor put in a similar thing. It's not the same. Smite 2's aspects, the ones that are done right, which are a majority of them, make you play the character completely different. Kali is not the same god with aspect turned on. The aspect turned on makes Kali a ranged auto attack carry with a different ultimate and a different 3. So half the kit changes and it completely changes everything. It's not the same. If you
Aspects
had
are
a
great.
different skin or something on the character, you wouldn't know it was Kali. And I'm not joking. You really wouldn't realize it. So while high res is at like 50 some gods, we've also got 20 to 30 aspects or whatever it is, the exact amount. That's 20 to 30 separate gods in my mind. And I realize if you don't play the game, you might be like, oh, it's not the big deal. It is that big of a deal in a lot of characters. You know, like Thor's aspect doesn't make him a different god. It makes him tankier. One, he's more damaging, one, he's more tankier. It does play differently and you feel it for sure, but not all of them are completely new gods, but some of them are. The new one that's coming out, I think Monday, makes her ultimate able to crit in one shot. like we never had her ultimate hitting this hard ever. Granted, she'll get nerfed.
Speaking of that, Bobby just played.
That is a big deal.
With the
I know I've
crit,
just jumped
and
from talking about
I'm just
Predecessor
noticing
to
there was
that,
never a
'cause
time
they
where I
have,
was
you know,
ulted
something
and like,
along the
oh
same
god,
lines.
that did
But
way
I
too
don't
much
think it's fair
damage.
to be
Now
sitting
that I'm
here
thinking about it, by
saying
the way.
that Smite 2 is worse than
So I definitely got
Predecessor.
crit ulted, but I never
realize there's a lot of
So it looks like
opinion
the
that
balance
goes into
data was
that.
good.
But the biggest turnoff for me from Predecessor right now, I was excited to grind the rank scene. Their ranked matchmaking system is terrible. And all the feedback from all the players and all the top level players say the same thing. Their matchmaking system is terrible. Smite 2, I don't know how they actually did work out a very good, it literally just got implemented before their matchmaking guy quit. A very good matchmaking system. It is extremely accurate in terms of numbers. Now, the player base is the problem where you see matchmaking have issues.
Yeah.
There aren't enough really good players to fill the tie-in games, and it causes a trickle-up effect.
There's nothing they can do with this
moving
player base
worse
to
players
give good
up
matchmaking
and up and up than they should be.
ranked.
But that's not the system. That's our player base needed to get better for one and get bigger for two. So just wanted to talk about Andy.
How many players do you think out of this 1800 are actively queuing ranked, and how many do you think are good? Right, that's tough. Right, that's really tough to get good matchmaking. It's the same stuff we went through early Smite phase where the matchmaking was bad.
Predecessor stuff.
Not enough players.
And I really just wanted to give an update because a lot of my older videos where I would shit on Smite 2, which is more me just super critiquing and telling the devs like this is how I feel when it's be done. Those still get a lot of comments and a lot of attention and views, oddly enough. So I feel like I need to have this video out because I want people to see the state of the game now. We are so much further along than I think anyone thought they would be when the game launched. It was as terrible as it was. Smite 2 came out and it was bad. The first 6 months were very bad.
Let's just talk about something here as well. This is a full year ago. A full year ago, we weren't even 24/7 for Smite 2. If anybody remembers what the game was a year ago today, it was in the state where nobody enjoyed it. There was only like 12 to 15 gods. Everything felt like you were underwater. Like the best example I think I gave, or somebody said that's exactly what it feels like. It felt like you were in an Olaron ult that was at 0.9 speed, so just slightly slower than normal. Every auto, every ability, everything just felt like sluggish. Nobody enjoyed the gameplay. Everybody had beads. Everybody hated that everyone had beads, right? There was no blink, there was no extra relics. The items were very basic, and the items, like the actives, everything was kind of boring, right? There was no Smite 1 items in the game yet. Nobody liked it. So let's say it for what it is. The progress they've made in the last 12 months from what the game was 12 months ago to what it is now is nothing short of, I'm not going to say a miracle because we still got a long way to go, but the amount of work the devs have put in needs to be recognized from the people who still aren't big fans of the game right now. So before they go and they start shit talking on Twitter, what we've, and by we I mean they, what the Smite group has been able to accomplish for Smite 2 from 12 months ago to right now is amazing in terms of the quality of the game and if it's worth being played.
Unplayable bad. From my perspective. Then January was a massive turning point. There was a bunch of acknowledgement that went on, a huge...
I think it was August that was the big change for me. He said January. There was big changes in January with the Aladdin patch and all that. Mine was August. The 24/7 change was when they added starter items, added like 15 or 20 items in general. They changed the animations, audio, and pace of the game to more similarly match Smite 1. They changed, that was when they fully optimized and changed the art style of the map, which is in the video I covered yesterday. That the August change was when it was like, okay, actually this is heading in the right direction. And then January like accentuated that to like push us more to where we are now. But like the big change was like when they launched 24/7. They're like, here's the big changes. It's now available 24/7. The art styles changed. The items have changed. The starter items have changed. The movement has changed. The ability animations are now more in sync with Smite 1.
Shift within the development, and literally that day that they announced, you know, hey, we're making a difference, they literally dropped a patch that made a huge difference. It changed the feel of the game.
Because that's what frustrated me the most. They made all those changes, they fixed it in August, and then right in October they had layoffs, right? And then it was a small round of layoffs. And then they pushed into January. They gave us the roadmap. They said, here's what we're going to come out with. They came out with aspects. They got Aladdin launched. They got like a god every other week and sometimes even like 3 a month done. And I remember even saying, I'm like, yo, if they push these devs through this impossible schedule of getting this game to where they want to be at by the roadmap in January, and then January launched, right? And they in the Worlds event was sick, right? And everything is looking great, and then they did more layoffs. That's what really hurt Smite. But I do agree, January is when it was like, all right, you know, we aside. Okay, like let me put it this way: if we didn't have layoffs in January, and I understand why we did, it's a whole separate conversation. Not gonna ramble on about it, but from what we achieved from August to January was phenomenal. If we could have kept that momentum and didn't get set back by the layoffs and that causing a lot of reputation, you know, issues and whatnot, it killed a lot of the hype that was created going into January. Worlds event was amazing. We had 27,000 Steam players. Worlds viewership was solid. The Worlds event as a whole ran really well.
Completely. And from there to now, 7 months later, to me, the game feels great. There's good and bad. I'm not going to sit here and say the game is perfect. It's definitely not. So I want to talk about some pros, and then we'll talk about some cons. All right. We talked about aspects a bit. Aspects make you experience gods in an entire new way, right? A complete life for 11 years. We don't want the game to become stale. I realize it's annoying or a lot of work to figure something new out, but once you get it, that feeling of accomplishment is a big deal.
Anybody who's not actively part of stream and is only watching this on YouTube as an example, because I'm assuming I'm uploading this, just so you're aware, if you've ever been in stream, there are people who think I just support Hi-Rez's decisions no matter what. I promise you, if you've ever came to a stream at all, even one time, you know I complain about things about the game daily. I complain about it. People hear my complaints. They see similar frustrations while they play, and then I just go to the Ambassador Discord. I explain what my frustrations were that day, and then they / me come up with a solution and or suggestion and or whatever, and they fix it, and I go, great, awesome, and then that's fixed, right? That's part of the process. I assure you, even though it seems like I am biased towards everything Hi-Rez does, I assure you, I am
and when we, you know,
I don't complain about it the most, but I complain a lot.
One had 120, 130 gods. I play the game a lot. There are people that play way more than me. In Smite 2 play way more than me. Once those people play all these characters and get a feel for them, it gets boring quickly. Trust me, it does. It sounds dumb. Like there's a lot of variety, but people want to have to push their limits. They want to learn new stuff. Aspects has done that. And it does it every patch. We're getting every 2 weeks, we get a new god, or we get a ported Smite 2.
I'm just going to skip some of this because I'm assuming he's just going to say what I've said, where like we are getting a lot of content. So
you away from it. Outside of aspects, just base gods. In Smite 2, a lot of gods are played very differently or have the ability to enjoy it. You see, like Neith has 2 builds. Neith has a mage build and an auto attack build.
I'm going to skip this as well. I covered this in the video where I ranked Smite 1 gods or Smite gods based on their transition from Smite 1 Smite 2, and I talked about the changes that those gods have made individually, so I'm going to skip this as well.
Build variety is there because you like
build variety
within
jungle,
that
you
realm.
can play gods in multiple
it
ways.
Is a really big deal. And then on the item aspect, Smite 2 introduced a 6th item, a luxury item where you have a slot where you can get 3 active items that are 2's matchmaking, like physically matching people is infinitely better. Somebody is inevitably going to comment on this video, be like, well, I had this really low player on my team today. No, you didn't. You had that player in a party with a higher rated player.
Yeah, if you ever look at the people that complain about matchmaking nowadays, let's call, first of all, shout out to Max. Shout out to Max. He did so much work and took so much shit for the amount of effort he put in to try to give us good matchmaking with a relatively low player base, right? Not relatively, a low player base. And he just constantly got shit on social media every time. I remember him talking about how he's leaving Hi-Rez, and there was still comments under that like, good, you ruined matchmaking, my life's over. you know,
when you
teardrops.
party queue, it pulls you up to the higher rating.
A lot of times, anytime
should.
somebody comes in on social media and they're like, yo, this is the worst matchmaking I've ever seen, I instantly click on their tracker, and it's because a trio queue brought their bronze friend into the game.
Matchmaking competitive is meant to be competitive. You can't have competitive games if you're going out of your way to make them less competitive. That's not the system's fault. That's on you. I like where the matchmaking is at. I don't like where the people that play matchmaking are at. A lot of them are bad. You know, someone's gonna say it's so toxic. Every game is toxic. Sports are toxic. They've been toxic. They don't have to tweak every quality of life thing. They don't have to worry about movement and this and that. I'm sure that will happen over time.
It even happened with me. I would come to Max and I'm like, brother, how does this make sense? Like with this, like, and don't get me wrong, sometimes I was in the right. And I would be like, how does this make sense to do this? Like, why are we expecting that, like, this leads to this? And he would literally just show me graphs and stuff and be like, well, you see, like, we're taking this for this reason. Like, yo, why are we allowed to bring in, like, any ranked person? Shouldn't there be, like, a cutoff? And they did add some of that in there, and there would be times where he acquiesced and be like, yeah, you know, like, okay, that makes sense. What are you seeing here? And I'd be like, well, like, you know, this guy, you know, we're in Demigod Games. This, you know, trio queue of like a master, a diamond, and a silver player, you know, on the other team brought like 4 silvers into my team, and then it was just like, why do we have trio queue as a thing anyway? Why are we allowing people to queue with whoever they want? And it was just like, well, here's the graph of how many people come into ranked. Here's the graph of how many new players come into ranked. Trio queuing allows people to go in with groups of friends. Groups of friends bring more people into ranked. Some of those players continue on to play ranked, which brings more people into the ranked scene, which overall makes matchmaking better. So you might have had a bad game this game, for sure. That's not good matchmaking. But the payoff for it was now more people are playing ranked, and those, like, you know, the one friend gets off, and now maybe that duo queue stays on and plays more. That clearly, from these trends and graphs, shows more people coming into ranked, which overall is going to increase the quality of matchmaking over time. And I would just go, so what you're saying is I have to suffer right now in order for matchmaking to be better later. And he's like, kinda. And I'm like,
but it's not like we have to do this now. They're at the point now where they can just build on the game and the potential of the game.
Okay,
items,
it
gods,
makes sense.
Map changes, objectives,
It
everything
makes sense.
is infinitely higher than Smite 1. Smite 1 was capped. That's why they needed a new game. Smite 1 did not have the ability to be ported to UE5. It was too old. That's not a thing. That's not how it works. It's not possible, okay? So they had to build a new game, so they had no limitations anymore. Right off the rip, they talked about a lot of the limitations that they had in Smite 1 that they just got to bypass instantly with Smite 2. So that's a big deal for me. Now, there's a lot of pros, okay? I get it. Oh, we can hype it up the game. There are cons. The map and a lot of the objective play, I think, is still bad. I think Gold and Pyro have been way too easy forever. I know it's...
If you click on the video from 2 days ago, I literally talk about the map and the structure of the map, the objectives on the map, the camps on the map, what I don't like about it, and then yesterday we did a video of the environment of the map.
It's 4 players to figure out, and they're doing it for a reason. But like Fire Giant feels really balanced now. The other objectives don't. That's a simple change, but I feel like they're pretty hard locked on them being easier. So the cons for me are the objective play is a little weaker than Smite 1 was as of right now. I think Fire's the same, but the other objectives are not the same. A big con is rebalancing when they pull gods over. Like Mercury, sometimes they're going to pull gods over, and they're going to not work with the way the Smite 2 is set up, with the higher protections, the more HP, that stuff. And they're going to need to be balanced. It's going to be a waiting game. So that can be a con. Your favorite god can come out and he can be weak because it's not the exact same as Smite 1. Is that...
I've also mentioned this when somebody's like, do you think it would be better if they were on a 1 god a week schedule? And this is another example by what he just said, where when I say no, it's already impossible to balance Smite as a whole already. MOBAs are already incredibly hard to balance. The metas are changing just because players are trying new thing, and then you want to bring in a new god, which is going to shake up the meta every 2 weeks, and then you want the game to be balanced at the same time. It's too hard for the devs. Like, it's not even too hard. It's just not possible to maintain good balance, fix bugs, and continually push out this amount of new content. It's just not possible, and it shouldn't be expected.
At the worst con in the world to have to wait another
week,
they
should not increase the schedule of
it's really not that big a deal.
Stuff,
but I get the annoyance, and I understand how that could be something that could deter you from swapping, you know, if you're waiting for your character to come out. The player base needs to grow. It's a massive one. Our player base is not as small as people want to make it out to be. The console base is huge. I think the console base is somewhere between 60 and 80% of the player base right now. So at any given moment, I think Smite 2 on Steam has like 5 to 6K.
5
Like
to
let's say
7.
6K. I'll be
5, 6.
higher end. We don't have epic numbers. Epic numbers are somewhere between 2 and 3K. So you're
Xbox
talking like 9K.
Xbox
on
launcher on
total
PC, not tracked.
right?
Epic
Console
not tracked.
is somewhere between
Console
60
not
and 80%.
tracked.
I'm gonna say it's probably closer to 60. It spiked when they dropped on the Xbox Game Pass. It spiked big from what they
did
were making it seem. So I'm gonna guess we're sitting somewhere between 20,
18 and 22.
40, 50K concurrent players with console. That's a lot of players. Not the biggest
Concurrent?
game in the world. The game was never the biggest game in the world. The game will never be the biggest game in the world. If you only play games because of the size of them,
I would say
don't know
18
what
to
to tell you
22,
because
like,
I
right
play
now.
video games for fun,
Peaking
and
at
I
night.
don't like if the game is fun. None of it matters. Nothing else matters. We're thinking too far along, and I'm a content creator. If you're just a true enjoyer of video games and you use it as a hobby or something to do to relax, play what's fun, not what tons of people play, because usually those people end up being miserable anyway. Like it's kind of troll to follow along with what they're doing, in my opinion. And then my last con, which is similar to the rebalancing, is just waiting for gods to come out. I know a lot of you want to play your whatever Nox, whatever it is, and you gotta wait. It sucks, but remember, there are gods that play very different from Smite 1 and Smite 2. There are aspects that change gods completely. There's stuff you've never seen that could be your new favorite thing that you don't know because you're not playing it or trying it. Also, let's be real. There
was
are not a
boring.
lot of games out right now
Smite
that
1.
are great. There
He's
are
boring.
quite a few
Hades,
single-player games
kinda
that
boring in Smite
are
1.
out
I know I
and
played a
great,
lot of them.
but in terms of
Cupid and
multiplayer,
Hades are
especially
10
live
times
service,
more
there are
fun in
not a
Smite 2.
lot out that are doing great
So a lot
right
of
now.
gods that
It
you
doesn't
thought
look
wouldn't
like
be
a
fun in
bunch of
Smite
new
1
games
that
are
weren't
coming
fun
out
in Smite
anytime
1
soon.
might be
So
a god you
stop
love in
being
Smite 2.
a
Neath was
hateful
boring as well.
person
Neath was
towards
way more
a
fun.
second video game and just give the game a try. It's that point in time to try the game, see what it feels like. I guarantee you, if you haven't played since January of this year, so in the last 7 months you haven't played the game, it is not the same game. It probably.
We get it for the total or the end of his spiel there, but I agree with most of it about what I like and dislike about the game, as I figured I would. My takes, at least about the quality of the game right now, usually align with his. Subjectively, maybe we'll disagree on some stuff, but like overall, yeah,